GDP and job numbers are out, and neither are looking very good. Let's put this first element up on the screen. Economists had expected something around a 0.4% year-over-year increase. Instead, we got a 0.3% drop, the first contraction of the economy since the pandemic. ADP private payroll numbers also came out. They rose at only 62,000 jobs. Dow Jones and others had been expecting more like 150,000 jobs added to the payrolls. So only 62 is being received by the markets as a huge problem. Now, Sagar, the GDP is interesting in the way that it factors in imports. Obviously, the D stands for domestic. And so imports are kind of subtracted out. What you saw in March was this massive surge in purchasing of imports to get ready for Liberation Day, because Trump said Liberation Day is coming, so everybody batten down the hatches. And so it's not supposed to count around GDP because it counts and then it gets subtracted back out. But money that you would spend on imports is money that you just by definition don't have to spend on something else. Think about it in terms of a household. If you need to do some landscaping and you need to buy a new refrigerator, and all of a sudden you got to buy the fridge, you're not going to do the landscaping or whatever. So some domestic things didn't get done because of the imports. So that did play a role. But what do you make of the first contraction? And this is March, so we're talking about ending March 31st.
Yeah.
So these numbers do not count April.
Liberation Day was actually April 1st.
April 2nd, because they didn't want it to be the April Fool's Day.
That's right.
I want people to not pay attention to the top number and instead look at the trend. So the overall trend is that, yes, it was because of good imports, but it was consumption slowed to just 1.8%, down from 4% at the end of 2024. So that shows almost a 100% reduction in consumption that happened in just a 3-month period. That's devastating, to a lot of businesses. And quote, final sales to domestic purchasers came in at just 2.3%, down from about 3% at the age of 2024. Those two things are what matter, I think, even more than the import craziness, because this is from Heather Long. If you set aside the import craziness, the economy slowed in the Trump early days, but it didn't collapse. That said, the risk of recession is now real with the hefty tariff. So for me, the decline in consumption is the number one story. It fits with the consumer confidence index falling to 2022. And it also just shows us, what a contraction can look like, because if we have high import duties, low consumption, mass layoffs, or at least some sort of layoffs, you have high, unemployment or higher unemployment, and interest rates have to remain high because technically inflation will still remain at least, baseline of kind of where it is right now. You're going to have a stagflation type scenario, which is externally affected. And I actually don't even think it fits that neatly into a box. The consumption figure screams volumes because that is uncertainty. That's you, that's me, that's Ryan, Emily, and all of us, where even subconsciously, right before we're about to make a purchase, do I really need this right now? Should I just be putting this in the bank?
Let me tell you.
Should I keep doing this?
That doesn't happen to women.
Oh, really?
You're just buying it?
No.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I noticed I didn't include my wife in that.
Yeah.
Joking. Women be shopping.
Women be
All right. Anyways, the point is that as that manifests across the economy, you see the UPS, style stuff. You see a few of the plants and these other things, layoffs begin to happen. Consumer retail is going to start to get slowly dragged down. And that is when you see, things. I always think about gift shops, candle shops in a nice tourist area. You're dead. If you see a 20%, reduction in overall visitors, and the people who are visiting are on a tighter budget, you're done.
And your inventory costs twice
New York,
as much.
Yeah, your inventory costs twice as much. If you're in upstate New York or in Washington and you're heavily reliant on Canadians, you're dead. Are you guys seeing this stuff out of Vegas about how
Ghost town.
Vegas is devastating right now? Absolutely devastated. Their their occupancy rate is apparently low. I just saw Nate Silver. He was like, "Oh, I'm booking my rooms for the WSOP that's coming up, and it's some of the lowest rates that I've ever seen." A lot of it is from international travel and also just broad consumption.
And the tourism point is a key one, because the biggest bright spot in the jobs report was in leisure and hospitality. So that's March. We know for a fact that in April, the biggest bright spot turned very dark. It is getting quite ugly. And we can put up this chart, which I believe is B2, which goes exactly to Sagar's point. This is the Consumer Confidence Index. Obviously, sometimes there are material reasons for the number going from straight downward towards the floor. If you look at 2007, 8, 9, we know why it crashed back then. We look at 2020, we know why it crashed then. That's the pandemic. This one is completely driven by decisions just made for effectively very little reason by Donald Trump. He just decided to do this thing. And as a result, you see this number just spiking down to the floor. And when the consumer economy makes up so much of our economic capacity, and you have people pulling back, that has a ripple effect that's going to be felt throughout the economy.
Futures are sliding. Dow is down about 350 points since the news came out.
And I would think that, who knows how the market's going to handle it, but you would think that Trump's interview last night as well would not inspire much confidence in the markets. Let's play just this one shot, B3 from Terry Moran and Donald Trump last night.
We basically have an embargo on China.
Look, you're trying to say something's going to happen, Terry.
No, okay, well,
nothing's going to happen.
You know business.
Terry,
I want to ask you.
I do know business.
Yes, so 145% tariffs on China, and that's
good.
Basically
That's
an
good.
embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on everything from electronics to clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know whether or not China's going to eat it.
That's mathematics.
China probably will eat those tariffs, but at 145, they basically can't do much business with the United States. And they were making from us $1 trillion a year. They were ripping us off like nobody's ever ripped us off. And by the way, we have other countries that were just as bad. If you look at the European Union, it was terrible what they've done to us. Every country, almost every country in the world was ripping us off. They're not doing that anymore.
I want you to think.
That inspire any confidence?
Well, yeah, you're right, Ryan. I mean, it's one of those where really what you're watching. I mean, what Trump also says is he'll be like, "Oh, we're having all these jobs come back, and they're telling me it's amazing." It's like that's just not true. I mean, you literally listen to the CEO of Walmart, Target. They're like, "We told him it would be devastating." That's what they said. It's just empirical about. I mean, the other really gross part about all this is how the auto manufacturers are basically just shaking Trump down for exemptions, which he announced in Michigan. And it's like, okay, so what are we doing here exactly? So we don't have exemptions, or actually we do. And by the way, the tariffs are also going to apply to Toyota if they build in America. So why would Toyota continue to build in America? Can anyone riddle me that one? if you're Toyota, I just be like, screw it. I'm done. Why would I even want to keep doing business here? It's preposterous, and it doesn't really make a whole bunch of sense. And broadly, that continues to shine through in Trump's interview. I mean, look, in a certain way, like you really get exactly what he should, like what he is on the screen is exactly how he is. I can testify to that, on a personal level, having met him or interviewed him a couple of times. And so anybody who's thinking like it's a performance or whatever, it's like his life is a performance. That's how he actually is in all of these meetings. So we'll see.
The one that scared me was when he said that tourism is way up.
Yeah, right. It's just delusional.
And Terry Moran's like, I'm sorry, what?
All right.
Up? No, it's not up. It's way down. Like, these are not differences of opinion here. Like, either Las Vegas is a ghost town or it's not.
Well, and payroll growth.
Yeah, Ryan, he should ask Steve Witkoff, the Las Vegas
the
developer.
Well,
hey,
Trump's
Steve,
got his own property in Vegas.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, check the Trump numbers in Vegas. Actually, honestly, someone should go and track where the room rates at the Trump International in Vegas and see how they have trended from November all the way until today. That'd be a good like ChatGPT task or something. I mean, look, I could be wrong only because it is Trump and there's a lot of MAGA boomers out there who will pay a premium just to stay at a Trump property. But, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not completely insulated from any sort of economic downturn.
Yeah, so ADP, their report showed private payroll growth slowed in April to 62,000. The Dow estimate for that was 120,000, so another negative indicator. But if you're worried about all of this, I have good news. We can roll the final thought. Chuck Schumer is on the case. Let's play B4.
Of all the crazy things the Republicans want to do, now they want a car tax? Hell no.
Hell no.
Not
No
happening.
to the
Hell
car
no.
tax.
Hell no.
Excellent.
I'm inspired. I'm personally inspired by
I feel
it.
good.
We're done.
All right,
I
should
think
we get to
our job here
influencers?
is done. Let's move on to the
Talk about the
influencers.
influencers.
Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.